Will YouTube load? Will YouTube load and show me myself? Oh. Yep, alright, I'm on. Okay. Hello, my brothers and sisters, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of What Does It Mean to Be a Christian? Yes, believe it or not, I'm actually continuing this series because I just thought of something new on the way. So, hi. I didn't realize that there was actually a lot more I could talk about, but there is. There is. Today we're going to be talking about the story of the Bible and how the entire story of both the Old and New Testaments influence the story of Jesus himself. Because you can't really worship or serve someone who you don't really know, right? You can't just be worshiping someone who you have no idea about. And an important thing about Christianity is that we have to behave a lot more like Christ himself. So, kind of awkward if you don't really have an idea of who is this Jesus guy? Why is he important? Why did he arrive? And the entire story of the Bible beforehand gives us an explanation. It explains to us the importance of Jesus Christ. And then, we also, sometimes, when there's a lot of preachings going on, a lot of these different messages about holiness and all this, all that, fruits of the Spirit this, the armor of God that, you kind of start to forget where we get all these important messages from, where this whole entire story began, basically. So today, we are going to cover what the story of the Bible is and how that influences what Jesus comes to do, how that influences how we view Jesus Christ as a character. So, let us begin. In the beginning, oh boy, let's start. So, the first words of the Bible, and I quote, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." As simple as that. God created the sky and the land. Boom. All right. So, in the beginning, God. Basically, that's how the story begins. In the beginning, God. He's there. He's always been there, and he's been there since time. The idea of existing has existed. God has been there since existence, since beginning. And he was alone in the beginning. Who knows for how long? Maybe it all just started. We don't really know. But what we do know is that whatever it was, God was there. Ah, yes. Not confusing in any way, shape, or form. So, God's there. The earth, unformed, a void. It doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is heaven. In heaven, God makes himself a throne, a kingdom, and we begin to see the creation of the angels. Now, there are multiple kinds of angels. You got the stereotypical angels that you think of, except that, they don't have halos over their heads, and they certainly don't have wings. They look more human. The reason is they come to be messengers from God himself, sending us messages for important plot points in the story he is trying to tell. Then we got the cherubim, the protectors of God's holy presence. The cherubim are these beastly animals. These beasts with the body of a lion, and then they proceed to have 4 heads: the head of a man, the head of a lion, the head of an ox, and the head of an eagle. Their purpose is to protect the holiness of God. Their purpose is to protect God himself, to protect God's throne. Then we got a stranger addition, wheels with eyes that carry God's throne. Basically, it's his spirit. They carry his throne from to and fro. They carry his throne around. Basically, that's his presence. Except that, God is omnipresent. He sees everything. He is everywhere. And then there's a battle in the skies. This is actually retold in the book of Revelation, chapter, I believe, is either chapter 7 or chapter 12. Give me a quick second. Yup, chapter 12. In chapter 12, starting off at verse 7, it reads, "Next, there was a battle in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But it was not strong enough to win, so there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was thrown out, that ancient serpent, known as the devil and Satan, the adversary, the deceiver of the whole world. He was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him." So, what is this? Who is this great dragon? Well, the book stated it quite clearly for you. It's Satan, the devil himself. Satan started off as an angel, perfect in all his ways, says the book of Ezekiel. Let's get our reference. Quote, "The word of Adonai came to me. Human being, raise a lament for the king of Zor, and tell him that Adonai Elohim says, you were put the seal on perfection. You were full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God, covered with all kinds of precious stones, carnelians, topaz, diamonds, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphires, green feldspar, emeralds. Your pendants and jewels were made of gold, prepared the day you were created. You were a cherub, protecting a large region. I placed you on God's holy mountain. You walked back and forth among stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, until unrighteousness was found in you. When your commerce grew, you became filled with violence, and in this way you sinned. Therefore I have thrown you out, defiled from the mountain of God. I have destroyed you, protecting cherub from among the stones of fire. Your heart grew proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. But I have thrown you on the ground. Before kings I have made you a spectacle." Now, what is this saying? Lucifer, Satan, started off as a beautiful angel, a musician of sorts, an angel that was made to praise God, to make music for God. This is what we know as the seraphim. Angels, but a lot more similar to what we imagine. Slight human physique, wings, 6 wings in fact, 2 wings to fly, 2 more wings to cover their feet, and 2 more wings to cover their face. And they sing. They sing and they do not stop, singing, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. They continue and they continue and they continue until the end of time. For in eternity they sing, praising the Lord. Seraphim also has a similarity to the word serpent in Hebrew. We clearly see that this seems to be Lucifer, Satan's origins. However, pride grew in him due to his beauty, and it led him into a rebellion, trying to become higher than the Lord himself. This is stated in Isaiah chapter 14. It's either 14 or 12. It's 12. Never mind. I apologize. It's 12. Never mind. I'm basically... Excuse me. Basically, in the book of Isaiah, it is referenced that Lucifer rebelled against God, deciding that he viewed himself above God. He says that he is more than God. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 into, I think, 16 to 17. How did you come to fall from the heavens, morning star, son of the dawn? How did you come to be cut to the ground, conqueror of nations? You thought to yourself, I will scale the heavens. I will raise my throne above God's stars. I will sit on the mount of assembly far away in the north. I will rise past the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Instead, you are brought down to Sheol, to the uttermost depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you, reflecting on what has become of you. Is this the man who shook the earth, who made kingdoms tremble, who made the world a desert, who destroyed its cities, who will not set its prisoners free? So here we see Satan going from a powerful, feared, beautiful creature of God now to an outcast, viewed and mocked by the nations. And so, now, we really get into the beginning. Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And according to the Bible, in the span of a week, God creates everything that we see and that we know. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was unformed and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water. Then God said, Let there be light. And there was light. God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was evening, and there was morning, one day. God said, Let there be a dome in the middle of the water. Let it divide the water from the water. God made the dome and divided the water that was under the dome from the water above the dome. And that's how it was. And God called the dome sky. So there was evening and there was morning, a second day. God said, Let the water under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And that is how it was. God called the dry land earth. The gathering together of the water he called seas. And God saw that it was good. God said, Let the earth put forth grass, seed-producing plants, and fruit trees, each yielding its own kind of seed-bearing fruit on the earth. And that is how it was. The earth brought forth grass, plants each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees each producing its own kind of seed-bearing fruit. And God saw that it was good. So there was an evening, and there was a morning, a third day. God said, Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And let them be for lights in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth. And that is how it was. God made the two great lights, the larger light to rule the day and the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. God put them in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, "Let the water swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open dome of the sky." God created the great sea creatures and every living thing that creeps, and so that the water swarmed with all kinds of them. And there was every kind of winged bird, and God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the water of the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." So there was an evening, and there was a morning, a fifth day. God said, "Let the earth bring forth each kind of living creature, each kind of livestock, crawling animal, and wild beast." And that is how it was. God made each kind of wild beast, each kind of livestock, and each kind of animal that crawls along the ground. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the animals, and over all the earth, and over every crawling creature that crawls on the earth." And so God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and over every living creature that crawls on the earth." Then God said, "Here, throughout the whole earth I am giving you as food every seed-bearing plant and every tree with seed-bearing fruit, and to every wild animal, bird in the air, and creature crawling on the earth, in which there is a living soul, I am giving as food every kind of green plant." And that is how it was. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So there was an evening, and there was a morning, a sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, along with everything in them. On the seventh day, God was finished with his work which he had made, so he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. God blessed the seventh day and separated it as holy, because on that day God rested from all his work which he had created, so that itself it could produce. Here is the history of the heavens and the earth when they were created, on the day when Adonai, God, made earth and heaven. This is the story that we're given for the creation. And we're told how one day out of the week, Saturday, was separated out from the other days and given to us as a day of rest. Now, God created two humans, Adam and Hava, Adam and Eve. These two were made to take care of the animals that were in the land and in the sky and in the sea. And they were made to take care of them. They were made to guard over the earth. We're told this in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 15 to 17. Adonai, God, took the person and put him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it. Adonai, God, gave the person this order: "You may freely eat from every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You are not to eat from it, because on the day that you eat from it, it will become certain that you will die." So, this is the story that we're given. We're given the story of this creation, the creation of man, and now we're getting to the paradise, Eden. This world that is this perfect, beautiful garden as described in the book that Adam and Eve were made to take care of, and that they're able to eat from any green tree, any fruit, any vegetable that they want, except for one: the tree of enlightenment. Now, the truth is that there is no problem with this tree. This isn't some magical tree with some cursed fruit. This fruit isn't poisonous or magical in any way. the test here is what's important. The whole reason for this was because God wanted to see if humans would stay as faithful to him as he has been faithful to them. However, we know how this story ends. Satan, likely jealous of humanity due to them having all the power that was taken away from him, at least that's what he thinks. He was the one who took the power away from himself, came into the garden and deceived Adam and Eve, telling them that if they took this fruit from the fruit of enlightenment, their eyes would be open, being able to know what's good and what's bad, and being able to have as much knowledge and wisdom as God himself. But we know this was a lie. And the ironic twist here is that this is exactly what Satan wanted. Satan wanted to have as much, even more knowledge than God himself, even more power and beauty than God himself. He saw himself as more beautiful than God, and so this leads him to rebel. And so he fell into temptation. And now the same thing is happening to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are deceived. They are tempted. And so, when God finds out, obviously God being the know-it-all God, basically, he sees everything, knows everything, punishes them, curses them. Eve is cursed with having to bear life, with having to painfully give birth to other children. Adam having to work by the sweat of his brow to take care of Eve. And the serpent is cursed to no longer be able to walk, now slithering on the ground, eating from the bare dust. However, here we're finally getting to where Jesus starts appearing for the first time. This is the first time a reference to Jesus, other than the multiple references to God, appears. And I quote, "Adonai God said to the serpent, 'Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel.'" Weird, right? What a strange prophecy. Well, believe it or not, this is the very first reference to Jesus that we get in the entire Bible. And here, we're going to start to see the importance of Jesus. This is why it's important to read the whole Bible. Because the Bible helps us understand more about Jesus. It teaches us more about Jesus. And so we can learn to become more like him. We can learn more about him. And we can learn to become better through him. Now, what does God mean? "I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." TLDR, God is saying that one day he will send a descendant from the woman who will crush Satan, the causer of all evil. He will crush Satan's head, destroying all evil. However, at a cost, at a price. Jesus dies because of this. Because he will bruise his heel. Satan will bruise Jesus' heel. And we see this all come to play in the gospel. But we're not going to be there yet, because we're covering the whole story of the Bible. Simplified, however, due to limited time, and, I'm not going to be sitting here for 8 hours talking about reading every single verse, going in depth of every single little thing. But we're going to be covering the main story that Why? Every time I try to talk, why did you come in? But yeesh. But we're gonna cover every big story beat, and we're going to cover the important bits to really understand the importance of Jesus. And so, the next big moment is after the story of the flood. A flood is sent over the whole world, at least Mesopotamia, at the very least Mesopotamia. And so, afterwards, humans begin to repopulate through Noah's sons. And eventually, we get civilization. Civilization starts, and we begin with Babel, the Tower of Babel. Humanity comes together in rebellion against God. They create this huge, giant tower, and it is speculative why. But from what we get in the story, their reasoning from what we read in the actual story, in Genesis 11, we read this. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that has its top reaching up into heaven, so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered all over the earth. Doesn't this sound a little bit similar to someone else we know? They're coming together as a people to make a name for themselves, to keep themselves alive, to make themselves powerful, and so that they may not be divided. This is an exact parallel to Lucifer and the rebellion in heaven. Lucifer wanted to become more powerful. He wanted to make a name for himself, however, instead of on earth, in heaven. However, and then he brought together a group of people. However, in the end, he ended up being scattered all over the earth, just like this verse reads. And humanity is starting to walk in Satan's shoes in this moment. And so, there's nowhere for God to cast them to. And so, instead, God divides their language. Adonai said, "Look, the people are united. They all have a single language. And see what they're starting to do. At this rate, nothing they set out to accomplish will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse their language, so they won't understand each other's speech." So from there, Adonai scattered them all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. For this reason, it is called Bavel, confusion, because Adonai confused the language of the whole earth, and from there, Adonai scattered them all over the earth. Now, from the area surrounding Bavel, a man named Avram was born in the city of Ur. God calls him one day to leave his house, his family, his life. Why? Well, let's see. Now Adonai said to Avram, "Get yourself out of your country, away from your kinsmen, and away from your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you are to be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, but I will curse anyone who curses you, and by you all the families of the earth will be blessed." Now, all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. This is yet again another prophecy of Jesus himself. God is making a promise here that through Abraham and through his family line, someone will come who will be a blessing towards everyone on the earth. And this repeated idea of this blessing towards the earth continues through generation to generation. And so, Abram leaves his hometown, the land of Ur, and he sets into the land now known as Israel, previously known as Canaan. However, due to a drought, Abraham's future family, the family of Israel, move into Egypt, and they are enslaved there for 430 years until God sends Moses, who leads them out of Egypt and back into their hometown, the land of Canaan. Then proceeds to come a series of judges who aren't exactly like the judges we think of now. They're more like military generals who whenever the people of Israel step out of line and commit a sin, and then God punishes them, the judges are there to fight off the punishment in some sort of way and bring the people into repentance. But then the loop would start again and again until Israel's first king and later their second king. Now, their second king is David. And God makes a promise to David. Moreover, Adonai tells you that Adonai will make you a house. When your days come to an end and you sleep with your ancestors, I will establish one of your descendants to succeed you, one of your own flesh and blood, and I will set up his rulership. He will build a house for my name, and I will establish his royal throne forever. I will be a father for him, and he will be a son for me. If he does something wrong, I will punish him with a rod and blows, just as everyone gets punished. Nevertheless, my grace will not leave him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Thus your house and your kingdom will be made secure forever before you. Your throne will never be set up. Your throne will be set up forever. Nathan told David all these words and described this entire vision. Now, this is a prophecy of both Solomon, King David's actual son, and a descendant of King David's, Jesus. Jesus coming from the line of David, who comes from the line of Judah, who comes from the line of Abraham, who traces all the way back to the line of Eve. God continues putting prophecies, reminding his people that salvation is indeed coming for them. However, we all know how this story went. Israel rebels time and time and time again. And then exile. They're sent to the land of Babylon to work there as slaves for 70 years until God brings a new king, King Cyrus. And then the people of Israel return back. Now the people of Judah, due to the 10 tribes of Israel being completely wiped out of existence, but now the people of Judah are free. However, after a couple of prophets and rebuilding their city, God stays silent. 400 years of silence. Where could he have gone? It's around 4 BC. There's a star over Bethlehem. Jesus Christ is born. There's this whole setup before his birth from multiple prophets talking about him, like Isaiah and Micah, to these promises by God himself to people like Eve, Abraham, David, and we're seeing how God has been setting up this Savior since the time of the original rebellion. Why? Why does Jesus matter so much? What is the point of Jesus? What is the point of the Bible? Now, the Bible, people can see it as many things. A rule book. They can see it as this strict rule book where if you don't follow every single rule, you're getting punished and destroyed by this angry, hateful God. Other people see it as just a collection of myths. legends, half-truths, lies, stories that are made to make people laugh or feel good for a while, but have no historical truth. But really, the Bible is a love story, a story of a loving God and of a childish people, a childish race, humanity. God is like a father trying to take care of his son, trying to bring his son back to him. However, humanity keeps walking away from him again and again. Now, since God is pure, he can't have anything impure come into his presence. However, he wants us in his presence. He loves us. He doesn't want to destroy us. He wants us to love him, and he wants to love us. So, what do? You have a sacrifice. You put something that you give your unholiness to something innocent. That thing is killed because the price for sin is death. And so you are made pure once again. You are given a second chance. Now, God did this for the Israelites through sacrifice from the days of Moses up to the days of Christ himself. However, by the time of Christ, there was a different sacrifice. Jesus sacrificed himself for us. God came to earth in human form. He lived life as a regular man, and then he died. Not a peaceful death as well. It was a brutal, shameful, painful death. And he did it all for us. The reason why Jesus is so important, and the reason why the rest of the Bible is so important to read, is because we understand more about God's character through the Bible. We learn more about his motivation. We learn about who he really truly is. Through Jesus, we see God's incredible love. His incredible love and forgiveness towards us. And of course, he's not afraid to punish. Of course, he's not afraid to give justice to those who have done wrong, but he is also willing to give them a second chance. He is willing to give us a second chance because he loves us. And that is what we learn from Jesus. That is what we learn from the Bible. We learn more about God's beautiful love for us, and we learn more about how to share that love with one another. So, my brothers and sisters, please remember to share love. Share love to people. Be respectful towards people. Even if you're a Christian or not, please, I ask to be respectful towards one another. To love one another. And to those who want to be Christian, or those who already are Christian, or those who are simply interested, the story of the Bible is important. It's important because, of course, it tells a lot of the important stories in human history, in the history of Israel. But it also tells us a lot more about God. And we can learn more how to live like God in the fruits of the Spirit. And we can learn to abandon flesh and join Christ once and for all. Join Christ again, like in the days of Eden. But that's just a theory. No, but seriously, my brothers and sisters, that's all I have for today. I hope that you could have gotten something out of this, that you learned something out of this, or that you enjoyed hearing me talk about this for the last 40-ish minutes. But my time is up, my brothers and sisters. I hope this has helped you in some way, shape, or form. I hope you have a nice day, a nice evening, a nice night, a nice afternoon. And this will be all for me. We're going to go on for a small wait until the next person arrives. But this is all for me. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Blessings.